welcome into the box score Terry Collins along with Seth Hackett. Seth, we appreciate you subbing in for Murphy Fair. He's out in Clarksville working the TACA East-West All-Star game. Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, glad to be here, Terry.
Seth, a former player at Smith County High School. He did get smart and go to DeKalb County and get him a wife, Rachel Fusion, whose brother Seth plays on the DeKalb County men's basketball team. We're going to look at our featured game and talk about it just a little bit, as it was last Friday night in Smithville. Watertown girls, an impressive win, 58-40. Molly Followwheel, 20 points, including 3 threes. Excellent defense. Macy Braley with 15. DeKalb County led by Allie Melton and Jordan Agee with 14 each. Seth, you and I did that game. We were very impressed with the Purple Tigerettes.
Yeah, first time we had got to see them in action this year, and still got some young pieces, but Coach Price in her first year, she's really got them dialed in, both sides of the court, and they were just a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of effort. Like I said, they really impressed me.
A lot of Wilson Bank and Trust threes in that next game, as the boys from DeKalb hit 17 threes in that game. Elliott Barnes, the freshman, leading the way with 17, including 5 of those bombs. Jordan Parker with 14 and 4 threes. Then for Watertown, Carlos Shannon, the freshman, very impressive for Kevin Honeycutt's Purple Tigers. He had 15 points, and I'm sure a double figure in rebounds. And then Devin Brown, whose dad, Darren, is the principal at Watertown High School. And I'm sorry, Devin, I probably shouldn't have mentioned that. He finished with 8 points. But it was just DeKalb's relentless shooting, and it wasn't just one. There was probably 8, 9 different players that hit those 17 threes, Seth.
Yeah, it was contagious Friday night. Watertown came out in the 2-3 zone, just trying to pack it in. John Hendrick's been shooting the ball really well for DeKalb, so they were kind of shading to him and just giving other shooters the opportunity, the green light to shoot. And it, I can't say I blame them for the game plan, but it burned them Friday night. It was contagious. Everybody that Coach Agee threw in, it was like they were shooting into the ocean. Anybody was liable to pull it from 3.
Got a new sponsor, and that's Pavement Restorations. They're sponsoring our scores. Appreciate Cason Swan and his bunch doing that. Looking at the girls' scoreboard, the Lady Owls up 6 at halftime. Poured on in the second half, win 79-45 in Carthage in front of a packed house. Gordonsville girls go on the road up in Kentucky, I think in Albany, and win 49-46 in overtime. Van Buren County then turns around and beats Gordonsville on Tuesday night in a close game, 67-62. But you can tell that Gordonsville's scoring is getting better, and that's kind of what's hampered them the last few years.
Yeah, a new coach this year, so new system. Going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but you can just tell by their scores, even so far this year, kind of the improvement, and really gave Smith County a game. It was, I believe, 36-30 at halftime Friday night on the road, and so they were really competing there. Smith County kind of pushed it out a little bit in the second half, but you see they turned around the next night and got them a win in overtime, and then competed with Van Buren Tuesday.
Terry Brock, the first-year head coach, they're 3-4 now. Is Gordonsville. Looking at the Gordonsville boys, Greg Bibb, their head coach, they win in Carthage 54-48. Carter Gibson, a big night for them. I think it was the fourth quarter, I think he had 11 points. And then Gordonsville wins, comes from behind, was down 7 in the first half, and winning by 7 or 8 at home. So when you look at Gordonsville goes to 6-1, Seth, with what they've got back, and we'll talk to Coach Bibb a little bit later in the show, they're loaded and poised to make another state tournament run.
Yeah, a lot of key pieces back from last year. Foster obviously being out with an injury right now, but they hope to get him back, and if they do, that'd obviously be huge. And then Gibson really starting to come on for him, pretty much willed them to victory at Smith County Friday night by himself in the second half. And you get Foster back with his scoring ability, with Gibson, and Sykes especially. They've got a lot of pieces to make another run.
Look at the Cannon girls. Ashley Patrick's team gets a win over Franklin County, 51-41. Low-scoring affair in Smithville on Monday night. They do win it 38-30 after winning pretty handily at home. And then they lose to White County on Tuesday night. Coach Dodgen returns back to Cannon County where he did coach at one time, and they're now 5-3. But they've played already White County twice, so something to be said about that. Looking on the boys' side for Coach Jared Nave, they had 3 wins. Franklin County, they beat them 76-39. They did beat DeKalb 68-55, and then against White County, they beat them 64-52 to improve to 8-3. Another team, Seth, that could make a run to the Class AA state tournament.
Yeah, graduated a couple of important players from last year's team, but still got some returners back. Jones and Pelham. They have a freshman that's really playing well for them right now, and I can't say enough good things about Coach Nave and the rest of his staff. Just great guys that do it the right way, and you can see it reflected by how hard those kids play for them and then the success they have because of that.
Let's go ahead and look at the PRI Pavement Restorations Incorporated scoreboard. You got Watertown over DeKalb 58-40. That was their Huff Trucking Game of the Week on DTC Sports. And then Cannon beats DeKalb 38-30 and drops them, I think that's 2-7 now that they fall to, because they were 2-6 after their loss against Watertown. Let's go ahead and look at the DeKalb County boys scoreboard. Of course, they hit the 17 threes we talked about, beat Watertown, and then they lost in a big rival game in Smithville on Monday night, 68-55. Both DeKalb teams have struggled here in the early going.
Yeah, good thing it is still just early December. A lot of time to make some improvements, and you're gonna have your struggles early, especially DeKalb boys. We talked about losing Connor Close and just trying to fill his shoes. So a lot of things to figure out for both those teams, but still plenty of time to do that.
Let's go ahead and look at Smith County's girls. They get the big win over Cross County rival Gordonsville, win it 79-45. The seniors have only lost one time to Gordonsville. Gordonsville broke a couple years ago. They broke a 15-16 game losing streak in the series, and I know Coach Brock saying, hey, we've got them at home Saturday night. It would be big if we could get the Tiger Den rocking and pull off a win.
Yeah, rivalry games, you can usually throw out the comparisons on paper right out the window. Like we said earlier, they really competed Friday night for a half at Smith County, and so you're going to be on your home floor, you have your home crowd behind you. You just double that up and compete for 4 quarters, and who knows what's going to happen at the end of the game.
Coach Lane Basell, in his first year for the Owls, the girls did lose 69-52 at Sparta against White County. Really were never in the game. Smith County cut maybe 10, 12 points off the lead in the 4th quarter when the subs went in. Looking at the boys, the Owls now stand at 4-5. We're down against Gordonsville, made a couple of runs in the first half and in the second half. They've still got some injury problems. Do the Owls, they lost 54-48 to the Tigers, and then led the entire way just about at White County and get outscored in the 4th quarter. They give up 4 offensive rebounds, they commit 3 turnovers, and they miss 5 free throws in a row, Seth, were their undoing on Monday night.
Yeah, just a really young team. You're going to have those kind of nights. Coach Spivey, who's helping Coach Basell this year, was my assistant when I was in high school, and he'd always talking about peaks and valleys, and you're just going to have a whole lot of those throughout the year in high school sports, no matter how experienced you are, but even more so when you've got mainly freshmen and sophomores on the floor. But learning experiences, once again, it's still early on. You're 0-0 in district play, so the real season's not started yet. Plenty of time to still iron some things out.
Maybe the surprise team in our area, the Watertown Purple Tigerettes, they're 5-0 now. They beat DeKalb at DeKalb 58-40, and then they won 45-30 over Red Bowling. Coach Brenda Price and her husband Seth, they've done a great job with this Watertown team that could pull some surprises in the district.
Yeah, really fun group to watch. They get after it for 32 minutes. Coach Price and Coach Price have both done a great job with them. And you know you've got York in that district. You know you've got Smith County, both teams that made the state tournament last year. But Watertown, like you said, I won't be surprised at all in those 4 regular season opportunities or even the postseason if they didn't pick one of those two top dogs off.
Looking at the Watertown boys and finishing up, DeKalb beats them 70-38 when DeKalb hit the 17 threes last Friday night, and then they get a win over Red Boiling 42-28 to improve to 3-2. And Kevin Honeycutt's got a lot of youth, so better things to come for the Purple Tigers as they gel and get some game experience. We'll have an interview with DeKalb County boys head coach Joey Agee when we return to the Box Score, brought to you by Carthage Safeway.
Your trusted friend for all your grocery needs in Smith County is Carthage Safeway, your home-owned and home-operated supermarket. From the delicious USDA steaks in their meat department to the freshest produce around, Carthage Safeway is proud to serve you and your family. Todd and Angela Skurlock and everyone at Carthage Safeway are always there with a friendly smile and a helping hand. Great service, prices, and selection. That's Carthage Safeway, 80 Dixon Springs Highway, Carthage.
Friendly, traditional banking at its best. It's what our customers have learned to expect at Citizens Bank, and we're always happy to deliver, with plenty of options for personal and commercial checking accounts, as well as a variety of loan types. We can help you achieve your financial goals, all with a friendly hometown smile. Citizens Bank at 407 Main Street and 61 Dixon Springs Highway in Carthage, 70 Cookeville Highway in South Carthage, and 530 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Do you ever worry about the safety of your home when you leave? Or at night while you're sleeping? Then give your home a professional security makeover with help from DTC Security.
For just $49.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3 window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and standard installation. There's never been a better time to get started.
Contact us and start your home's DTC Security makeover today.
Hello, I'm Bruce Daniel. I've lived in Cannon County all my life. For the last 59 years, I've only made it across the highway. I married my wife, Melody, in 1981. We hauled our first load of freight in 1983 with one truck and a couple old borrowed trailers. We found a way to make it. Our employees are the backbone of our company. Some of our team members have been with us for more than 30 years.
And welcome into the Box Score. Terry Collins along with Seth Hackett. We've been joined by DeKalb County men's head coach, Joey Agee. And Coach Agee, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem.
I know that, when you look at your team, your biggest critic is only 8 foot to the left of your bench or right of your bench, depending on what game you're at, with your wife keeping the book. How much unwanted advice does she give you a game or a day?
Well, most of the time we don't talk about it a whole lot. Now, every now and then she will talk about it, but after a good game, I don't mind talking about it so much, but after those bad ones, I really don't want to talk about it too much.
Coach, when you look at your team against Watertown last Friday night, you banged in 17 threes. And it wasn't just one player. It was not only the players that were in the normal rotation, but the kids that came in off the bench were stroking it too.
Yeah, I shot the ball really well. Now, we hit 17. I don't know if that's going to be typical of us, but I do feel like we have the shooters to make, maybe 8 or 9 a game, which is where I think we need to be to win, to be honest with you. Everybody was hot the other night. I think, it kind of rubbed off on the bench coming in. And Barnes had a really good game. Chase had a really good game. David Wheeler had a good game off the bench. So, we're going to have to count on those guys at some point throughout the year. Elliott Barnes has played, a lot as a freshman, and Porter Hancock also as a freshman has come off the bench, played well for us. Chase Young is one that we're still trying to work into the rotation. I think he can help us offensively. He's just got to take care of the ball a little bit better for us, and it's just for us to trust him a little bit more. But, David Wheeler can really shoot it. He's got to work on his defense. We got to have him playing better defense in order to get him in there a lot. But we do have some people that come off the bench and help us for sure.
Coach, obviously Connor Close graduated this past year. amazing career. Obviously, that's who you'd go to late in games last year, or when you're in a drought, you could go to him for a bucket. Just talk for a second about what player or players you're looking for to kind of fill his shoes this year.
Well, honestly, when you lose 18 points from one kid right off the top, you can't really do that. You can't get that back all with one person most of the time. So, even going into the year, we really felt like that we could spread that out some. We feel confident with, the guys that are playing to score the basketball. And honestly, it's a little bit easier as a coach to call plays because you're not necessarily trying to work the ball through one guy. We feel pretty confident with anybody who has the ball in their hands late game situations. Again, he had an amazing career here, scored over 1,300 points, so you're not going to replace that, just with just any player off the bench or whatever it may be. I do think we'll have some kids that when their career's done here, we'll be able to score a lot of points. But yeah, he was such an athlete that you could call things that, you couldn't typically call for just anybody.
Coach, when you look at your freshmen, you spoke of them earlier and how they had performed, and you got, that number 5 kid, he can stroke it, and it doesn't matter. As soon as he comes in off the bench, you can tell he spent a lot of time in the gym shooting the basketball.
Yeah, he has. He's really worked on his shot. I've watched him play since he was about 6th grade. I actually played high school basketball with his dad, so his dad could shoot it too. So, we knew coming in this year with him being a freshman that he would take some lumps, maybe defensively, and, get beaten, banged around a little bit because, it's different when you're playing 18-year-old kids and coming in as a freshman. But we feel like that, he's that kid that can make a big difference in the way that people have to defend us. I told him the other night, though, he might as well forget ever towing that line again the whole time he's here in his high school career because, the tape is out. People will know who he is.
Coach, your district's obviously always a gauntlet. Just take a second and kind of break down the teams that are in it this year and what you're expecting from each of those teams.
Well, obviously Upperman's got Cobb and Bronson Chaffin, so, and they're deep. They're going to play a bunch of kids too. So, but, those 2 kids right off the top of my head, I can, night in, night out, they're, Cobb's probably going to be the best player on the floor at times, or probably most nights. They're picked to win the district, obviously. I think most people would agree. And then you got Stone, probably after that, where Caps is, still there. And so he's, a great scorer himself. He scored over, 2,000 points, I believe, in his high school career. So not a typical high school player, but and his dad, Coach Caps, does a really, really good job of, getting him the ball in certain situations. And they always have really good role players, I guess you would call them. They know exactly what their job is, and they usually execute those plans to a T for him. So, and then after that, I think White County's always going to be tough defensively. They're always going to be really, really tough defensively, and Coach Mitchell does a great job there. And I think they had some injuries, from football season, so they're not fully healthy yet. But I expect them to probably be fully healthy by the time we start district play. And then Livingston, they're going to do what they do. They're going to make it a track meet. They're going to run and shoot the ball really well. So Coach Miller does a good job there. And then you got, of course, Cumberland County. I've watched them play. Actually watched them play Smith County. And they shoot the ball really, really well. They're young, but they shoot the ball really, really well. So they could upset some people throughout the year. And, so it's just, like you said, it's a gauntlet. After Christmas time, it's, night in, night out. You better bring your best or it'll be ugly pretty quick. So,
Coach, with a district that strong, I think the big thing is, hey, we're shooting for the top 4 and getting to the region, because you got to feel like if you can get in that top 4 that you've got a chance, and that's not knocking the other side of the region, not at all, but just a compliment to your district. But you know, that's what you got to shoot for, which means you've got to beat out 2 teams in order to get that 4th spot.
Right, and you know, it's something we talked about since I've been here for 3 years, that, you know, we haven't been to the region tournament since 2013. That's way too long for DeKalb County basketball not to be in the region tournament. So, but we got to take care of business in the regular season to put you in a good situation going into the tournament. You got to execute the plan once you get there. But all those district games are very, very important, and you can't have a night where you're off, for sure.
Coach, when you look at White County and them not having all their players, it's hard to scout them right now because everybody's probably going to be in a different role when they get everybody back.
Yeah, it is. When Tripp's not playing, he makes them go, and I don't think anybody would disagree with me on that. He's, just a winner. The kid is just a winner, and that's all he wants to do, and he doesn't care what he has to do it. On the other hand of that, he's got a lot of young kids getting a lot of experience right now, and they're going to be battle tested by the time they get to district play.
Coach, you've already played Cannon twice this year. First one didn't go the way you like it, and then a much closer game the other night. Just talk about motivating the kids to just clear that first result, and then obviously a much better contest the other night.
Yeah, I mean, when you get beat by 37, there ain't a whole lot you can say, but just, they just whipped us and made us, just made us look like we didn't really know what we were doing that night. I felt like we were off a little bit as far as just our energy, and it was a weird night because it was a Friday after Thanksgiving. But I told the kids, I'm like, it didn't affect them any, so that's not an excuse for us. And I told them, I said, you should be embarrassed, because I'm embarrassed. And then we go to Smith County. Really kind of had a little bit of a team meeting after the Cannon County game before we go to Smith County and address some things. And I thought we played a lot better there. Had a chance to win it at the end. And then we played Watertown, and we lighted up from the 3-point line. And then going into Cannon, this week, I felt like we were in a good spot. Again, we had one bad quarter. I think they outscored us 5-16 in the second quarter, and that kind of put us behind. But then we battled back, cut it to 3, I think, in the third or fourth quarter. Just missed too many shots around the rim that we should make. And then we didn't shoot the ball particularly well from the 3-point line. I think we ended up being 4 for 18. So, again, like I told the kids, I think we need to be about the 8 mark on the 3-point makes. And then you make 3 or 4 more 3-pointers, and you make 2 or 3 more around the rim, and instead of getting beat by 13, you're probably right there to have a chance to win at the end.
Well, Coach Joey Agee, we appreciate you visiting with us, and best luck to the DeKalb County Tigers.
I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll take a break. You're watching The Box Score, presented to you by Carthage Safeway.
Friendly, traditional banking at its best. It's what our customers have learned to expect at Citizens Bank, and we're always happy to deliver, with plenty of options for personal and commercial checking accounts, as well as a variety of loan types. We can help you achieve your financial goals, all with a friendly hometown smile. Citizens Bank at 407 Main Street and 61 Dixon Springs Highway in Carthage, 70 Cookville Highway in South Carthage, and 530 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Why do our customers choose Homeland Community Bank? Because we're committed to providing top-quality financial services while focusing on those personal banking relationships that treat you like the friends and neighbors that you are. From checking and savings to loans of all types, including those focused on business, Homeland Community Bank is truly ready to meet your needs. Contact us today to make the switch to better banking. Homeland Community Bank. Banking by the people, for the people. Member FDIC, Equal housing lender.
At DTC, we're constantly looking at ways to improve your quality of life, to help you make the most of all your connections so that you'll have time for the things that matter most, whether at work or play.
Score the best connection with internet that slays. Receive a free month of service when you add or upgrade your internet package with DTC. It's a great time to get started.
Call or visit DTC online today and make the most of your connections.
Your trusted friend for all your grocery needs in Smith County is Carthage Safeway, your home-owned and home-operated supermarket. From the delicious USDA steaks in their meat department to the freshest produce around, Carthage Safeway is proud to serve you and your family. Todd and Angela Skurlock and everyone at Carthage Safeway are always there with a friendly smile and a helping hand. Great service, prices, and selection. That's Carthage Safeway, 80 Dixon Springs Highway, Carthage.
And welcome back into the box score. Terry Collins along with Seth Hackett. Justin Malden always doing a great job of turning the knobs, something I have no clue about. But we've got Coach Price from the Watertown girls. And Coach, you're off to a 5-0 start. You've got to be pleased with how you've got this season started.
Yes, sir. Real proud of our group.
Coach, when you look, I got to see you play Friday night at DeKalb. And by the way, how long had it been since Watertown girls had beat DeKalb? Do you know that?
Yes, sir. It was the 2020-2021 season. I believe it was the first appearance.
Right. And I know, Coach, and noticing it, and I'm not saying anything about talking bad about last year's team, but what I was impressed was the enthusiasm, the spirit that your team played with, the togetherness, and the intensity that they had. I know that's got to be something that you and your assistant coach, who will remain nameless for now, have had to work on.
Yes, sir. You know, that's big for me. I feel like when you don't have energy, you struggle sometimes. That was taking over. That was a focus for me. We've got to play with intensity. We've got to play with energy. We got to play together. You know, basketball is a team sport, and I think our girls have done a really good job of kind of buying into that vision and executing. You know, shots might not fall for us during certain points of the game, but I really, up until this point, have not thought we just didn't play hard.
Hey, Coach, just tell us what are some of the harder things you've had to deal with being a first-year coach, and some things that may have surprised you that you never even imagined having to do.
Yeah, well, I think just you don't really realize how much energy teaching all day, coaching for a couple hours in the afternoon. A big thing for me, we don't have any seniors, and that anytime you don't have seniors, that's kind of hard. You're trying to figure out who's going to be your vocal leader in the locker room from that perspective. You know, you sit on the bench as an assistant, and you think you're ready to be a head coach, and then you get to it and you're like, am I really ready for this? And I don't think you realize as a coach, just not even from a coaching perspective, but there's so much that goes into it behind the scenes that people just have no clue about, administrative stuff, that kind of stuff.
Coach Price, a former player there at Watertown. Of course, your husband Seth helps you. Your dad's Jeff Luttrell, a longtime coach there at Watertown, now the director of schools. Did he in any way influence you to want to be a coach?
I think, I was a kid on the bench in this program. My dad had 2 stints in the program. One when I believe I was in about 4th grade or so. And I watched him coach. He instilled in me, I never really knew anything other than basketball. And I definitely would say I don't know that I would say he encouraged me to be a coach. In fact, he was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" When I told him I was going to be a teacher. But I think watching the way that he cares for kids, from a coaching perspective, I also played for my father-in-law. He was my coach for 4 years here in high school. He had a huge impact on that. I love playing for him. And then I had a volleyball coach, Brandy Holcomb, and she is probably who inspired me the most to be a coach. Just, a non-family member. She she was there for us. She wanted us to play hard, and I think early on I knew I was going to be an educator. I knew I wanted to help kids. I knew that's what I wanted to do, and so I guess to answer your question, yes, but he was not the only person that I really look up to from a coaching perspective.
Coach, we got to see y'all Friday night at DeKalb. Early candidate of the year for my favorite girls player to watch would be Molly Followell. She was just an Energizer bunny out there. Can you tell us how important it is to have someone like that just gets everybody else going?
She's huge. She's a sophomore, and I literally call her our Energizer bunny. That's something I love about the way she plays. She's a true point guard, and the way you see her play is also the way she practices. She is 100 miles an hour all the time, and that on a team, especially when you might have some kids that's just not their personality. She brings everybody up, and what I love about her is she demands everybody to play with that kind of energy. And that the way that we play, that's huge for us. I'm incredibly proud of how she's kind of stepped into that role and taken on that role, even just as a sophomore.
Coach, she's only 5'2", 5'3", and I'm not good at guessing on weight, so I'm not even going to touch that. But my whole thing is she guarded Van Vranken, a player that was much taller than her, and gave her absolute fits. And if she drew a charge or got a steal, she was like your biggest cheerleader on the floor. I just love the energy. I'm like Seth that she played with, and I think she's one of the reasons that Watertown's not going to be your normal Watertown. When you play them, I don't care if you're first in district, where you're at, you better bring your A game if you want to get a W.
Early on, people asked me, they're like, she's so small, and yeah, she is short, but she's just a pest on defense, really. She's not gonna be defeated. That's kind of her mentality, and she's handled just about everything that we as coaches have thrown at her. She's really stepped into that role. She has played exceptional defense. I mean, you look at her stats offensively, and she's doing great, but she defensively, I think, brings almost more energy on that end of the floor.
Coach, all the basketball districts in the Upper Cumberland seem to be so tough. Yours definitely no exception. You've got two teams that made some Murfreesboro last year. Jackson County had some young pieces, so they look to be improved this year. Just kind of break down your opponents for us in the district.
We've got Smith and York, and that's what I tell our kids all the time. You're playing in a district that had two people at the glass house. That matter which way you slice it, that's a good district. Jackson County had a lot of young pieces last year. I think that they have definitely improved, and then you've got Monterey, and I think they're pretty young this year. Smith and York probably both have a whole lot more experience on the floor than we do. I do have 3 returning starters, but the rest of my lineup didn't really see the floor very much last year. And then, of course, Smith has added to their roster in some ways. And I think both of those are going to be interesting to see our matchups there, as well as Jackson County. I mean, every night you got to walk into the gym and assume that you can be beat. That's kind of our mentality. Anybody is competition, especially once you get to late in the district, and especially taking some of those road trips we got to take too. That doesn't work in our favor, but go ahead.
Coach, the height girl, I was impressed with her. Just a freshman, but the poise she played with, she can shoot the ball well, but she's a good defender, as is your team. I think the one thing that I noticed was your team defense. They were always in good help side. They denied cuts. They chested cuts. That's not something that just happens. That didn't just wake up and hit a player in the head when she got up out of bed one morning. That's something that's got to be taught. So kudos to you and Seth for teaching your team the right way to play defense and being fundamentally sound.
I appreciate you saying that. That's huge for us. We every day when I interviewed for this job, actually, that was one of my points I had. We're going to be a fundamental team, and I feel like there's some possessions we do better than others, but the goal is to be extremely fundamentally sound on defense, and I'm really proud of that. And you mentioned the height girl. She's up to this point has really stepped up for us, especially as a freshman. You know, a lot of times transition to middle school to high school speed is hard for players. And she's had her moments, but overall she has really proud of her as well.
Coach, one final question. 5-0, great start like we mentioned, but I feel like a lot of times teams get too caught up early in the season and winning versus losing versus just seeing things that you need to improve on, seeing things you're doing well. Just talk about how important it is to differentiate between figuring out what you need to do early versus wanting to peak around late January and getting into February in tournament time.
That's what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, guys, this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon. You know, the biggest thing I don't want us to be is too confident in early season wins. Because, you know, at the end of the day, those wins don't mean anything in postseason. And so they probably are sick and tired of me showing them 20-second clips of things they're doing wrong when they're winning ball games. But we come in every day, we break down the game before. Might show a couple positive things, but most of the time it's like, hey, this will get us beat postseason. And so we just try to come in here every day, take what we've learned in games, into game situations, things like that, and build on that. We have a 24-hour rule, really more like a 12-hour rule. We're going to celebrate this for 12 hours, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. Because right now, you know, you're, like you said, early success is great, but you got to have long-term success when it comes to January, February, March.
Well, Coach Price, we appreciate you visiting with us, and look like to me with you being the head coach and your assistant coach being your husband, he should cook supper every night at least.
I agree. I agree with that statement.
Well, Coach Price has been our interview with the Watertown girls off to a 5-0 start. And we'll have Greg Bibb from the Gordonsville Tigers when we return, as we remind you, watching the box score presented to you by Carthage Safeway.
Your trusted friend for all your grocery needs in Smith County is Carthage Safeway, your home-owned and home-operated supermarket. From the delicious USDA steaks in their meat department to the freshest produce around, Carthage Safeway is proud to serve you and your family. Todd and Angela Skurlock and everyone at Carthage Safeway are always there with a friendly smile and a helping hand. Great service, prices, and selection. That's Carthage Safeway, 80 Dixon Springs Highway, Carthage.
If you're a commercial driver looking for a company to call home, Huff and Puff Trucking is the company for you. Our employees are professional and dedicated individuals that take pride in what they do. We offer an outstanding pay package with a dispatch structure that maximizes your home time. To learn more about a company that knows you by name and treats you like family, call us at 1-800-965-5033 or visit our website at huffpufftrucking.com.
Do you ever worry about the safety of your home when you leave? Or at night while you're sleeping? Then give your home a professional security makeover with help from DTC Security.
For just $49.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3 window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and standard installation. There's never been a better time to get started.
Contact us and start your home's DTC Security makeover today.
Why do our customers choose Homeland Community Bank? Because we're committed to providing top-quality financial services while focusing on those personal banking relationships that treat you like the friends and neighbors that you are. From checking and savings to loans of all types, including those focused on business, Homeland Community Bank is truly ready to meet your needs. Contact us today to make the switch to better banking. Homeland Community Bank. Banking by the people, for the people. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We're here with head coach Greg Bibb of the Gordonsville Tigers. And Coach, first of all, I don't know that you've been on the show since you went to the Class A state tournament semifinals a year ago, the furthest run that a Gordonsville basketball team on the men's side has ever done. Congratulations on that. I know that doesn't count anything for this year, but that was quite an honor.
It was. It was one of the most fun runs I've had as a head coach. And just a great group of kids and a group of kids that deserve it. So it's fun watching them go through it.
Coach, we know Foster out with an injury right now, potentially have a chance to get him back towards the end of the year. Just talk about who you're looking to fill his scoring role especially, and just a few of your other key players this year.
Well, Brody Sykes does a lot for us. And, of course, Tucker Smith and James Peoples does a lot of scoring for us. The new move-in would be Carter Gibson. That's pretty dynamic, and he's a lot like Jay in that every time he touches the ball, he's thinking score it. So that's going to help us a lot there. Clinton Pope starting last night. And in the Carthage game, he started scoring it a little bit better. So it's kind of divvied among a lot of people. And then hopefully by the time we get Jay back in February, or hopefully January, this experience will help us a whole lot more.
Coach, expectations are sometimes great when you have a season like you had a year ago. I know you lost to Pickett until it got to the region finals, and then you beat them to where you could have that sub-state game at home, which had a dynamite crowd over there when I came to that game. And then you win it and get to go to Murfreesboro, then you win your first game. I'm not saying that the expectations aren't warranted. They are, because you have so many people back from last year's team, but sometimes that's more pressure than a team can live up to, because now they're thinking, hey, we're going to go to the championship game or we're going to win it. And, the upcoming district that you play in basketball, there's no cakewalks or cream puffs. You have to earn your way to get whatever level that you get to.
Yes, sir. And that's why I think teams in our district get so much better as the year goes along, because you have to bring your best game every single night or you're going to get beat because it's tough. But I think, and I would much rather have that kind of expectation than not having any expectation whatsoever. That's one thing I've talked about ever since I've been at Gordonsville, is creating that expectation that Clay County, that Pickett County has, that they expect to be great every year. They expect to win every time they step onto the floor. So I'd much rather have that expectation than have no expectation at all.
Coach, we'll put aside the Carthage versus Smith County argument for a second here, but
yes, sir.
But
when I came over from there after my first year back teaching and coaching and went to Gordonsville, you would not believe how many times I got corrected.
I can imagine. But went over there to Smith County High School on Friday, won a big one, and then have them again this coming Saturday at home. Having played and coached in that game, I know the energy and the anticipation. You want to teach your guys to appreciate the moment but not get caught up in it. But just talk about having to prepare them before the game, and then maybe a timeout or two early just to kind of calm the nerves and just get them to play basketball.
Well, that's it, and that's key number one. I always give keys to the game to my team, but that's key number one, is control your emotions. The only way to win is have a stronger mind than your emotions. So that is a big game, and it's fun. It's fun to go into that one, and I actually talked to Coach Apple right before our game the other night and told him it's stupid that we play 2 times in December, where it would help both of us, because that's a tournament-like atmosphere. And it's stupid for us to play in December, where we could have one of these games the last week of the season to get us both ready for the postseason play.
Coach, when you look at the gym being just packed at Bill Lander Gym in Carthage last Friday night, I know that playing in that atmosphere, and even as an announcer through the years and doing DTC and actually playing back when the baskets were nailed up on the side of the wall in the pre-historic days, just to have your team in that situation, I think it's good for everybody involved, home or away, because it kind of sharpens you for what you may face in the postseason.
Well, it is, and there's so much. It's so good for you because there's so much distraction that happens during that time that you have to focus in, and you have to perform in that high level of excitement, intensity, crowd noise, to where you hear nothing. You have to block everything out. And that, like I said, that's tournament-like. I mean, you go to East Robertson last year for the regional finals, you're not going to find a seat. I couldn't even talk to my kids on the floor because they couldn't hear me. So preparing them, that kind of game prepares them for that.
Coach Gibson transferring in, I got to see him play last year when he was at York. He really probably deserved more minutes. He was just behind some really talented guys there. So obviously a big addition. Just kind of talk about how important it is, the chemistry, the ability to mesh, and just making sure it's easy to get caught up in individual scoring from other players who may be jealous, but just talking about a team mentality over an individual mentality.
Yes, sir. And you know, it's been a process for him. It has, because he was on a team, you know, York is a little bit down this year, and over the summer he was there, and he was having to do all the scoring. So we've had to have several discussions about him handling it in the right way, having great shot selection, because he feels like every shot he shoots is great, which is great. You want that for your kids, to have that kind of confidence. Just like he was in practice one day, and Brody Sykes was closing out to him with a high hand, and he shoots it. And I said, how do you think that's a good shot, Carter, when you got a 6'5" guy closing out with a high hand and he's close to you? He said, Coach, I didn't notice him. So he thinks every shot's a good shot. But he is doing a fantastic job of finding his teammates and keeping his teammates involved. And yes, he still takes a couple of bad shots here or there, and a decision or two here or there, but he is coming along great, and he's fitting in well with the guys.
Coach, his mid-range game, there's not many high school players that have that. They either shoot layups or they shoot threes.
Yes.
But his mid-range game seems to be on point.
It really is, and that shot I was talking about, that was mid-range that he was in. You know, he gets off the floor extremely well. Anybody that's closing out to him, it's going to be tough to get a hand on that shot, because he gets off the floor. Pretty athletic kid. And as he progresses defensively, he's going to be a great player for us.
Coach, we mentioned at the beginning of the segment the great state tournament run last year, and you've got some key pieces that are back. Just talk about how important that experience is, especially once you get into late January, February, and into March, fourth quarters of tight games.
Yes, sir. I mean, we've been there. That's what's so important. We felt that feeling. We've seen it. We've heard it. We've got that taste in our mouth now, and that hunger with these kids that want to get back. So yeah, just being there and having that experience, knowing what it's like, knowing what it feels like to be that close, to be able to reach out and touch it and not get there. So that kind of adds to that hunger to get back. This group of kids they are just phenomenal. It's been a joy to coach these kids. I'm going to miss them just like they're my kids. So it was pretty special last year, and I know what their goals are. I make them write them down at the first of the year, and all of them have us getting back.
Well, Coach, I know Pickett and Clay and Clark Range and Red Boy, I know those teams are, poised to try to knock you off, but that's what makes basketball in the Upper Cumberland so fun. Yes, sir.
Clay's good again, just like they always are. Pickett's really good, scored at all 5 spots, and it's really special playing in this area. I grew up in Kentucky and played in Kentucky. You know how special and important basketball is in Kentucky. This place, there is no fall off from when I played in high school in Kentucky to where it is right now in the Upper Cumberland. It's so much fun. It's so competitive, and that's what makes it fun.
Well, Coach Greg Bibb, we appreciate you visiting with us. Best of luck to the Gordonsville Tigers.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we've been visiting with Greg Bibb of the Gordonsville Tigers men's basketball team, and we'll have a preview of the upcoming games when we return to the box score presented by Carthage Safeway.
Why do our customers choose Homeland Community Bank? Because we're committed to providing top-quality financial services while focusing on those personal banking relationships that treat you like the friends and neighbors that you are. From checking and savings to loans of all types, including those focused on business, Homeland Community Bank is truly ready to meet your needs. Contact us today to make the switch to better banking. Homeland Community Bank. Banking by the people, for the people. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hello, I'm Bruce Daniel. I've lived in Cannon County all my life. For the last 59 years, I've only made it across the highway. I married my wife, Melody, in 1981. We hauled our first load of freight in 1983 with one truck and a couple old borrowed trailers. We found a way to make it. Our employees are the backbone of our company. Some of our team members have been with us for more than 30 years.
At DTC, we're constantly looking at ways to improve your quality of life, to help you make the most of all your connections so that you'll have time for the things that matter most, whether at work or play.
Score the best connection with internet that slays. Receive a free month of service when you add or upgrade your internet package with DTC. It's a great time to get started.
Call or visit DTC online today and make the most of your connections.
Friendly, traditional banking at its best. It's what our customers have learned to expect at Citizens Bank, and we're always happy to deliver, with plenty of options for personal and commercial checking accounts, as well as a variety of loan types. We can help you achieve your financial goals, all with a friendly hometown smile. Citizens Bank at 407 Main Street and 61 Dixon Springs Highway in Carthage, 70 Cookeville Highway in South Carthage, and 530 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville. Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
Welcome back to the Box Score. Terry Collins along with Seth Hackett filling in for Murphy. He's off on maneuvers up in Clarksville. Justin Malden always doing a great job. And let's go ahead and look at our featured game of the week. Huff Puff Trucking sponsors that, and it'll be the Owls traveling to Gordonsville. Second time in 8 days, Seth. Should be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, quick turnaround. Maybe thinking about spreading these games out a little bit more. It's kind of crazy to play, and it's like you go to bed a couple times and wake up and you got to play again. But yeah, should be another great one, another great crowd over there. Gordonsville girls competed, like we've mentioned already, for the first half at Carthage, so they're looking to do that again. And then the boys game, a lot of ups and downs. Both teams kind of had some lulls and then had some spurts where they got hot, and so should be another contested boys game.
Let's go ahead and look at the replay dates of that. It'll be on Tuesday, December 17th at 7 p.m. That's a week before Santa comes. Wednesday, December the 18th at 1 p.m. Thursday, December the 19th, and Friday, December the 20th at 7 p.m. Also remind you that on DTC 3, if you'll go there, you can see when the Christmas parades that we have taped here in the month of December air on DTC 3, and we appreciate all the hard work from Nick Noakes and Justin and others to bring that local programming to you. Let's go ahead and look at the upcoming games for Cannon County. Of course, they've got Grundy County making the trek to Woodbury and playing Cannon, and then you've got Central Magnet, a team they played they go back-to-back nights on Friday and Saturday, and Central Magnet is usually a pretty solid two clubs.
Yeah, a 3A school. Their boys team has been really good the last few years. I think they've maybe graduated a few of their bigger players, and so a little down, but anytime you're playing up a class, you're still going to get some good competition. Right down the road, pretty close drive for both teams, but good early season competition for sure.
Got to go through Murphy Fairville if you're getting from Central Magnet out to Woodbury. Let's go ahead and look at DeKalb County's upcoming games. A big border rival in Warren County, McMinnville to Smithville, right straight down Highway 56, and then you got DeKalb County at Watertown. We saw Watertown and DeKalb last week, and now they're just going to head down Highway 70. Two rival games for the Tigers.
Yeah, Friday night, especially Coach Fish used to coach the girls team, now coaching the Warren boys the last few years. And his son, who played growing up, elementary school and middle school, with a lot of the players on DeKalb, and so there's definitely a little rivalry there. Usually a really close game, kind of like Smith County and Gordonsville. You can throw everything else out. It's just going to be very emotional, highly competitive. And then same thing with Watertown. DeKalb, a very convincing win this past Friday, but I doubt that they're going to shoot that high of a percentage again on Tuesday, and then especially being on the road. And so Watertown definitely looking for a little bit of redemption there.
Gordonsville games, they've got on Saturday night, they've got the Owls and Lady Owls, and I'm not real sure with neither team playing on Friday night why this game's not on Friday the 13th instead of being bumped to Saturday, but that's the case for Gordonsville. I know we don't play and they don't, so but they made the game on the 14th, and then next Tuesday they travel to Hartsville to face a former district team that is not in the district anymore, in Trowser County, team that's in actually Smith County's region that includes the other district, which is like Westmoreland and Liberty Creek and that bunch. So a couple of big games coming up for the Tigers and Tigerettes.
Yeah, Saturday games or any games on days where you don't have school, I've never been a real big fan of. It's of course this one not as hard to motivate them. They get pumped up for it, but you're not having to get up early to go to school, so they stay up late the night before. You don't have your normal walkthrough, maybe your team meal. Everything's a little off schedule, so just doesn't feel like your normal routine. But it is a crosstown rival, so I don't think either team will have trouble getting fired up for that one. Looking at the Smith County games, of course, they'll go to Gordonsville on Saturday night, and then they'll travel to Beach down to Hendersonville on Tuesday night, which is I believe a 4A team, and there's two competitive games in Carthage a year ago. Looking at the Watertown schedule, they've got Trowser County on Friday night. Then on Monday, they go to McMinnville and play Boyd Christian, and then they've got DeKalb at home on Tuesday night. So when you look, Seth, these games, hopefully the coaches are getting their players that they can count on and their roles defined because the first of the year is not that far away. Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. You're really looking to kind of iron out things, find out who can do what for you, and then especially opportunities where you may be up or maybe down a significant amount to get some players in who you're not really going to depend on, or you don't think at this moment you may depend on too much, but you never know late in the game where you're going to have to throw them in there, or if someone goes down with an injury. And so any extra playing time that you can get your bench players this point in the year will pay dividends as you get into January and February in district play. Let's look at the teams in the DTC Christmas Classic. You've got Clinton, you've got Coffee County Girls. Joe Pat Cope's done a great job with them last few years. Cumberland County Girls and Boys, they were in it a year ago. Gordonsville in it, Central Magnet Girls, and you got Warren County. That's on December 20th, 21st, and 23rd. It starts at 1:30 and it is at Gordonsville High School. Thanks so much to Justin Malden, and for Seth Hackett, I'm Terry Collins. Good night on the Box Score.